a big question and answer session. If you have a question that you don't want to ask in front of everybody, I have all my business cards here. And you could talk to me afterwards or email or call me later, and I'm happy to talk to you. Adam, are you?
Getting the share option here to.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Did you hit record yet or not?
I did.
Okay. Woo. It's real now.
It did.
Okay. So I talked about some of my general housekeeping items. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything about this presentation before we get started. I didn't. So we're going to just go ahead and move on with the presentation. As Adam said, I'm Matt Gruber. I'm the city's landscape architect. I've been working for the city of Pleasanton for over a decade. Probably some of you know me. Probably some of you wish you didn't know me, but I'm here talking to people. I really care about Pleasanton. I live right across the street, basically, right near Bonde Ranch. So I'm just like a stone throw away from Bonde Ranch. So it is something I care about. I walk in the neighborhood all the time. It's important to me, and I want to make sure that you feel like you're providing input and we're making decisions based off the input that we receive from you. Adam, like I said, he stole my glory a little bit, but I'll just say we have Melanie Lee here with SCI Consulting Group. They specialize in assessment districts, and we also have Susan Barnes, who is one of our specialists. They're here to give part of the presentation and answer questions. And then we have probably the most important guy in the room here. This is Matt Daw, and he is our battalion chief, and he's going to be helping talk about some of the fire concerns, and he's going to be joining me on a couple of slides in the presentation too. Today is a day we've been waiting for a long time. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. If everybody knows, or if nobody knows, this district was created a long time ago. Assessments have been the same for a long time. We're trying to right the ship. And so today, what we're going to talk about are, what really are the district maintenance responsibilities? Like I mentioned earlier, we did create a website that is specifically for Bonde Ranch that has a ton of historical information, has a 10-year cost history of what we've been spending our money on. It talks about all the formation challenges and details. And there's a ton of information on there. But I'm going to be talking today about the responsibilities and areas that we're specifically in charge of as the city. And then I'm going to talk about really why we're here tonight and what we're doing moving forward, what the Proposition 218 process is. SCI, Melanie is going to talk about that in more detail. It's basically a state requirement that we go through this process before we make any changes to the assessments.
Question for you. Why do we have consultants and pay them to do this when the city can do it themselves? And
Yeah.
And who pays for them?
Yeah. What was the question? You didn't hear it.
Why do we have consultants? Why do we have to have consultants pay consultants to tell us what we need to do?
Yeah, so it's a very complicated process going through this Prop 218 process. The city we're not experts in the process. We need to do everything per the state requirements. And so that's what we have the consultant on board to do. They do all the work. They create the website. They do all the ballots. They do all the notifications. There's a lot of work that you might not know happens, but it does happen. And we'll talk about this more.
Who pays for them?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, and it's something I'm definitely going to point out. I've told some of you already, and probably some of you have already read it. Is that, and I don't want to talk too much about this because I'm going to talk about it later, and I don't want to get ahead of my presentation too much. But I'll just say, the people that paid assessments paid you, Bonde Ranch, you paid for it.
Yeah.
So we really do want to only. And we are doing everything we could keep costs down.
They're not our advocates. They're just somebody that giving you information.
They are experts that are doing the work that needs to be done to make this process go smoothly. Yeah.
Make it legal.
This
Make
is,
it legal, yes.
this is a legal, Prop 218 is a legal process.
That's basically to make
The city doesn't have people that do this.
We got me, but I'm only one guy. I'm only one guy.
So the landscaping maintenance districts are self-supportive of their own fees and the burden of their own cost. Okay, so it is not general fund subsidized. It is through the rates that you
We're
pay.
on that.
It's through the rates that they do that. So we don't specialize in a Prop 218 process. Even other Prop 218 processes for our water and sewer rates, we bring consultants in to support us through this process. It is a complex legal process with multiple steps, findings and legal findings that need to be made for us to be able to do this. And it's not something that the city specializes in doing. It's not something that we do very often. And so we do have to bring in the proper experts to make sure that we can properly do this, cross our T's, dot our I's, so we don't have to redo the process, which, you know, can cost considerably more through challenges.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for asking. We are gonna talk about this more. I don't wanna get too derailed from the presentation, so I'm gonna keep on moving forward here. But we'll get back to that. And so then we're gonna talk about what specifically we're proposing. We already talked to you in one community meeting. We'll have another community meeting after this meeting. And where we want to show you that we've heard you and what we're proposing. And then we want to talk to you really about why this matters to you, because I think a lot of people think like, why am I really paying these assessments? Because that's something what I've heard. Then I'm gonna go through the next steps of the process, which essentially ends at this year. So did you, okay, okay. So most of you already know this. I don't know how many original, can you put your hand up if you're original homeowner? Whoa, wow. Oh, that's actually really good. That's really good. So I don't explain this to most of you, but I'll just kind of go over everything again. This district 1993, when the Bonde Ranch development was created. I think most of you moved into the homes if you're original homeowner right around 1996, 97 time period. And this district has been in place since then. What the district covers is this area that you see in the map here. So you could kind of tell really a big part of this district is about fire management and fire prevention. That's what all these areas are behind the houses. So the district maintains landscape and trees, the fire breaks that I just talked about. There's a lot of drainage systems because there's a lot of hills. So this district is all about protection of the existing homes from erosion damage to flood damage to fire damage. And we do have irrigation and drainage systems. We have small amount of entry features and fencing, and then we have some open space areas kind of down in here between like Middleton and Livingston area. And as Adam said, every dollar that the city collects for this assessment district goes into a special fund that is only spent on the assessment district. So there's no money that you pay that goes to paying for anything else besides what's being done in your district.
With the exception of this proposition you told.
That is accurate, but it is also for the Bonde Ranch development. And
What authorized he is, because this is the one really Prop 218.
so the city, so I'll talk more about this. This isn't. So it's the city council authorized it. It's something that we need to do, and I'm gonna talk about why we need to do this as we move forward here. So just talking about what's in the district. I went over this a little bit already, but there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's over 100 trees in the landscape maintenance district. Most of them haven't been pruned for a long time. Some of you have definitely called me not happy about some of the trees and the condition of them. And we definitely need to take care of those trees, and we need to spend some time and effort to maintain them. So we're looking to do that. We do have, like in this is actually a fungus that's in this tree, and that fungus is a sulfur fungus, and it means, hey, that tree actually needs to be removed. And you could just kind of see the general condition of the landscape. We did paint the fences and repair the fences not too long ago. But that's like the one shiny bright thing in the district.
Just to clarify, that included in the fences is all the fences at the end of the roads and around the open space that have not been.
There are Yeah, so actually I got a photo coming up of Texas, so we're gonna talk about that. But just to go over a little bit about the irrigation system, there are 3 water meters and there's 3 backflows and 3 points of connection for the irrigation system. All of them are turned off because they're leaking so badly. We just had to turn them off because we didn't have the money to fix them. So there's no irrigation to anything right now within the district, which makes a big impact because if a tree starts to get unhealthy, there's no way for us to water it or do anything. So in time of drought, it just continues to decline.
And just to clarify, that's been turned on for 10 years.
Probably, well, I turned off the irrigation. So like I said, when I started working here over a decade ago, the irrigation was on. And it was broken and we started turning it off sometimes and then we turn it on when we needed to. But for at least 5 years, probably 6 years, we've just had everything turned
So
on.
Matt, I have a question on that because that's a very different situation than what exists for me, because ours has been off for more than 15 years.
Yeah.
On Bonde, on those inland property, so.
Yeah.
Is it, when we say it was turned off, it was turned off 5 years ago, that's hugely different than what happened.
Yeah,
Ours.
definitely, yeah. So what, I know Barry, we talked about this, Adam, if, I'll just say, let me finish on the slide, there's actually about 2,500 linear feet of concrete ditches in the landscape maintenance district. So it's something we definitely want to maintain and make sure people don't get flooding, but Adam, if you could go back a few slides to the maintenance area map. Yeah, so you'll notice that the districts are kind of on the backside of all the properties except for like Middleton and Livingston, it is on the front at the entry. And then along Independence, the landscape is on the front. So
Bernard Avenue over there.
what's that?
That is the Bernard Avenue.
Yeah, but this right here is Bernal and this is a city maintained landscape. So all these entries to the cul-de-sacs, Roselma, Pamela, and Amanda, these are city maintained landscapes that are not part of the district. And Barry, I have some updates for you and I want to talk to you about that. But this irrigation along Bernal has been turned off for a long time. As I've heard, 10, 15 plus years. And I'm not familiar with that. I did talk with our park superintendent about it. And we're looking into it to see what could be done, if it could be turned back on.
How long is it from Mirador to Angela Street? I guess that would be north. How long has that been turned on?
On Bernal,
Yeah.
probably around the same amount of time. It's all the same.
That property forever.
What's that?
Nothing to do with that maintenance.
Yeah, but that's a separate issue than what we're talking about here
That's
today.
not part of the landscape.
So that's not part of the landscape
So
maintenance.
why are those houses on the district? All those houses on this street on Genevieve and that, why are we in the district that has nothing to do with the fire breaks and all the rest?
So it does have to do with the fire break. So the entire development was built together, right? So it was one package. And when the developer built it, he had a choice of, hey, he could create an HOA, or he could create like a maintenance, like not a landscape maintenance district that the city maintains, but something that the homeowners would privately maintain. But back at that time, they chose a landscape maintenance district and there was just some flaws with how it's set up. But I'm gonna talk about kind of the special benefit received for these areas. Right now, everybody pays the same, but there's a difference of when we go to a Prop 218 vote, how much these people on the north side are gonna be paying versus these people on the south side because of the benefit we see. But I'm gonna talk about that. I'm getting off track a little bit.
Is a lighting and landscaping district or an LMD? What I recall, it was a lighting and.
So they're generally called a lighting and landscape maintenance district, but this one, I just call it a landscape maintenance district, so it's not confusing to people because there isn't any lighting that we take care of as part of the landscape maintenance district. The lighting is maintained by the city, those specialty streetlights that you have, that's just like within the right of way maintained as part of the city's lighting system. So technically, they're all created as part of the 1972 Landscaping and Lighting Act, and so you could often hear lighting and landscaping maintenance districts, or for simplicity, I'm just calling landscape maintenance district or LMD.
My understanding is that it takes care of lighting for everybody, not just for the people on one side of the road.
So, you're talking about Bonde Ranch, or you're saying?
Bonnie Ranch.
Yeah,
Bonnie
so,
Ranch,
so all the streetlights, are put in by the developer, and they do, provide light to the entire development. But I'm gonna talk a little bit about why you're in here and why it actually matters to you if you do live on the north side.
Just for clarification, the streetlights are not part of this district. And so that's a responsibility of the city. It's within the right of way and lights the streets or within that area. So the cost to maintain those lights, run those lights are not part of this district.
So you, let's see, you asked me about fencing. You asked me about fencing. Yeah, so here we have over 500 linear feet of ranch fence. We have over 100 linear feet of retaining wall. There's this rail, kind of, it's called a guardrail. That's about 300 linear feet that we maintain. There are some areas at the end of the cul-de-sacs on Rizoma, Amanda, and Pamela that I missed when we did our fence repair project that are part of landscape maintenance district that we will catch up in next phase. And then kind of finally, what we're looking at is the open spaces that I pointed out earlier. This is part of the landscape maintenance district too. Beyond the open space for the district, there's the Bonnie Ranch open space that is maintained by the city and doesn't have anything to do with it. So there's some ways where people might get confused about who's responsible for what. And so I just would have you refer back to the map that you've seen to see, hey, what is this meeting about tonight? So with that, I'm gonna hand this over to Matt Thaw, our battalion chief, to talk a little bit about fire.
Thanks for coming out tonight. I just wanted to talk about the fire in and around the Bonde Ranch area and the critical aspect of the fuel breaks that are put in every year by paid for by the district. So when we look at it's been raining the last couple of days, water takes the path of least resistance downhill, fire takes the path of least resistance uphill. When we look at this area, we see it's surrounded mainly by grasslands, which historically burn the fastest. If you look at brush and timber, those fires move slower. But as we've seen, 10, 15 years ago, a fuel break wouldn't even be mentioned anywhere. But unfortunately, through the loss of entire cities like Paradise and things like that, fuel reduction is paramount these days in saving homes and saving lives. So the fuel reduction that's done annually around all of the homes is critical in the sense that if you look at all of this grass or tan area, it's basically gasoline. And when that grass is standing, whether it's 2 feet tall or 6 feet tall, that those flame lengths are exponential because that fuel is standing upright. So for us to have a fighting chance to save your house, for you to have an evacuation route, these fuel breaks are critical in the sense that when that grass is mowed, it's laying on the ground. And on some days in the summer, low to moderate days, that fire may even just creep or smolder through those mowed fire breaks. On the worst case scenario, that grass that has a 6 to 12 foot flame length in the unmowed areas goes down to 1 to 3 foot flame length and really gives your home and us a fighting chance to save your home. So when we look at the fire hazard severity zones, for those that have been following last year's news, this all local areas, so all cities and counties got designated fire hazard severity zones. It hadn't been remapped in over a decade, and that new mapping software encompassed what we call our spotting potential and looked at a period of time, 30 to 50 years of hazard, not necessarily risk. And why I say that is because insurance measures risk, not necessarily hazard. So there was a lot of news articles about these maps and insurance, but I just wanted to note tonight that the entire district was unmapped prior to this most recent mapping that encompassed wind and spotting potential. And now you can see over half the district is in the moderate zone. So that's even more critical for us to get those fuel breaks in every year so that your home has a fighting chance to survive a fire coming. And for those north of Bernal, it's even essential because I heard some dialogue about, not affecting you because it's not in the open space, but when we look at spotting potential and, if any one of these homes or trees and grass gets, caught on fire, the spotting potential to move, across the street is very real on a windy day. Years ago, we used to see things spotting, a quarter, half mile. Now we're seeing when homes get involved, things spotting 1 to 3 miles out in front of itself. So it's really critical to have that fuel break. One other thing I want to talk about tonight is just fire-wise communities. And that's a grassroots effort that it doesn't necessarily even have to start with us, or most of the time does not start with a city or fire department. It starts with homeowners coming together. It's through the national NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, and it's 8 or more homeowners getting together and saying, hey, we want to do fuel reduction above and beyond what's being done by the city, the county, the neighborhood. And it's really looking at your house, coming up with a 3-year plan, and essentially working an hour to focus on that. Fire department gets involved. There's some assessments that are done, and when you get to that level of involvement, there's the potential to have some reduction on your insurance. And again, that I can't guarantee you that because it goes different.
That'll be the day.
Different from insurance agency to insurance
Yeah.
agency.
So they have basically doubled the insurance right now. I don't know whether you're aware of that fact.
No, and I'm aware that, if everyone's in California is getting pinched and that more and more people are getting dropped, so.
No, because of this specific area, wildlife, the fire hazard area. So when they look at that property within the Bonde Ranch, the insurance has doubled, whereas the other houses are not. Because I have other property which is not within that area, the insurance remains the same. However, over here, first of all, they don't want to give you insurance. Secondly, the premiums are doubled,
Yeah, unfortunately,
already tripled in some cases.
It's your
we
fault,
can,
we know that.
we can do what we can do, and these fuel breaks give us that fighting chance.
Who drew the map? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
The fire hazard severity zones were done by CAL FIRE across the state. So the state responsibility area where CAL FIRE responds to has always had fire hazard severity zones. But last year they updated after a long time of not the local area. So for Livermore and Pleasanton, they updated all of our fire hazard severity zones.
That's
And
all
that's
city
where we got
property. That's all
the
city property then.
yeah, but it comes, the zoning has no, it's blind to anything. In fact, if you go on the state and you can look at lakes that are actually zoned, and it's just, it's looking at the acreage around, and it's looking at a 200-acre essentially picture, and it's measuring the hazard again.
So why is that open space not zoned the same? I mean, it's running. We have the open space there that's in yellow, and the open space that's to the left is not.
So if you look at this map, it's measuring outside, all the way outside, the city. And it's saying on a worst case scenario day, with the winds in alignment and
So they think the fire would stop on that line?
It's a transition from moderate to
Wow.
to low. And some of that has to do with, so if we come in here and you're at the end of Arlene and you come up this trail, some of it has to do with topography too. I'll say that. So a wind shear and wind sheltering. So there's a little bit involved in that. So it's looking at a number of things, spotting potential and fuels. And you'll see in other cities where it's very high to high, or even if we go, further down Vineyard, there's a whole section that's very high that goes all the way to Shadow Cliffs. So, I'm sorry, high that goes all the way to Shadow Cliffs.
When was this done?
Last year in 2025.
Because all that blue union at the bottom is all developed. So it's all wrong. I mean, they based on what?
No, It's not
That's what-
based on whether it's developed.
They're not looking at what's
So-
there.
That's the bottom of
So-
the screen.
The map doesn't look at, it doesn't discriminate against houses, so a fire is gonna come into the area. And unfortunately, if there's, fuel that's continuous up against the house, it could catch one house on fire and then spread house to house. So that's why having the fuel break is essential. And then just speaking, from the fire department to all of the homeowners, the 5 foot zone around your home, which if you look at literature from CAL FIRE or NFPA, it's called Zone 0. It got really popular after the campfire in Paradise. And if you go above and beyond the fuel breaks that we're putting in and thin back vegetation around that Zone 0, your house has a very good fighting chance. They found that most of the homes that burned down in Paradise were some sort of vegetation that was next to the home or not kept up, where fire got into debris that was underneath the shrub next to a house that then the eaves caught fire and spread into the house. So I know I've taken a lot of time and I know there's a lot.
Can we get through the presentation? We'll have a lot of time at the end to go. We just got a few more slides if we could.
And I'll stick around for all questions.
As the fire guy, I wanted to ask you about the eucalyptus trees. Does that concern you?
Eucalyptus trees are non-native, and so just maintaining them and using the funds to keep them maintained. The problem with eucalyptus is being non-native, they're high oil content, and they shed. So
Very hazardous.
just making sure that they're kept up. So as the funds are used for tree maintenance, there's over 100 trees. We just want to,
100 eucalyptus or 100 trees?
No, sorry, over 100 trees. Sorry. Yeah, eucalyptus are
Yeah, they're only on that end of fence,
just,
right?
and then grass, oak, woodland. Most of this
Yeah, there's at least
these are
one.
all oak trees up here, intermittent oak trees.
So there's some eucalyptus also over by Middleton.
Yeah, so this whole area has eucalyptus tree, but basically this is an old, I know Barry, you and I talked about this. I try to convince you that this was the old ranch road for the Bonde Ranch. And I think there used to be a ranch road there and they planted eucalyptus trees and those eucalyptus trees are really old. These ones that are along here probably either just were self-planted by squirrels or wind or whatever. But there are some right here. It's not a lot, but the city also has some in the median.
It's a lot, it's a lot,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yes, yeah, the center divide is maintained by the city. It's only 10 feet off the sidewalk that we maintain in the LND.
The landscape maintenance district is basically the back of curb and up to that hillside over the fence, all the way to the property lines of units. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have time to talk more about fire and I'm definitely gonna talk more about fire anyways as we get through the presentation. And I want to talk about really why we're here tonight. A lot of you have raised concerns that really made it clear why we're here, but our irrigation has failed. We can't actually take care of the plants that we have out there, and only that which survives without water or supplemental water from homeowners that are taking the time to water them. All those plants die unless we provide irrigation. So it'd be good when we come to drought that we are able to provide a little bit of supplemental water because that's really going to help with fires in addition to pruning the trees to provide to prevent ladder fuel fires. We also haven't pruned our trees, as I just talked about. We definitely need to prune our trees. There's tree removal that we need to do. That's a big concern for us, and should be a big concern for everybody. Not only is it a safety issue, but it's a fire issue. There is all that underbrush buildup that we would like to address, especially along the back of the hillsides in the V ditches and everything. Once again, you're going to hear that he says a lot. It kind of gets back to fire. Trying to remove the underbrush buildup, which we don't have the money to do right now. We have reserves and we use it on this process. So we really want to do this only once, but we don't have reserves to do a lot more right now. And we've been pushing maintenance down the road for years and years and years. And we can't
Why
push.
is that?
Why is that?
Yeah,
we don't have any money to do the maintenance. You're gonna hear me say this, and I said this already, but this is a, interesting fact, but when you moved into this development, you signed an agreement that said you'll be, paying for this assessment district up to $500. And at that time, 1996, they set the assessment about 300, just shy of $400. And then in 2000, I don't know, I wasn't here back then, but the rates actually got lowered to about $270, $280. We restored it last year to the original assessment. But not only were we having a lower assessment than approved at 1996 or the same assessment level, but we had over $100 lower. And so we restored that, but that's not getting us to where we need to be. And so I've actually cut back the maintenance. I mean, if you look at the areas, you see that they look pretty poorly, and that's because I just pay a flat $500 a month to the landscape contractor, and he sends one crew out there maybe once a month for 2 or 3 hours, and that's and that's on average, because he does have to clean all the bead ditches, he has to do everything else with the district too. So
Comment on that one. It is because it's not completely, I want to make a comment because it's not completely correct, even from the previous, I didn't join the previous meeting, but read the minutes. It's not completely correct, that is, from the beginning until now is the same assessment. Actually, from 1997 all the way to 2025, you are collecting $257 per acre per year, which is a total of 26,500 per year. For 29 years has been collecting 26,500. But starting this year, you mentioned that you start collecting close to 400, which should be the original assessment, which is 396,000, which will give you a total of $40,800. So, which is a 54% increase from the previous 29 years. So over the 29 years, it has under collected $415,000. If it was collected at $400 starting 1997 until now, we now have $415,000 cash in the bank.
And I got that, Kevin. I got a slide. I got a slide.
We are not.
You guys are predicting my presentation. Let me talk.
Because we didn't collect enough money, that's why we are underfunded.
That is correct.
Right?
That's very clear.
We're not going to be underfunded.
Yeah.
Because we will collect the $400 now, actually, starting this year.
Well, let me talk about that, Cam. So let me just keep on getting through here. So what has changed since 1993? I basically said all these things, so I'm not gonna go over it too much, but inflation. What was worth $1 in 1993 is only worth 45 cents today. So a big part is kind of like Cam was saying, if we approved this landscape maintenance district that kept pace with inflation, I would never have talked to you. We'd have operating irrigation system. Everything would have been great. Everything would have been perfect. We wouldn't have any of these problems, but there was no inflation factor. So here we are. Wildfires.
But that is a different issue though.
I know.
Assessment, a totally different.
It is along the same lines though. But yes, I hear you, Cam. We got a lot more older landscape. Cost for labor and materials have gone up. We just are underfunded and we're not even able to cover the basic expenses. So now I'm gonna get into talking about, SCI is gonna get into talking about the process, and then we're gonna talk back a little bit about what we're proposing.
Okay, so hi, my name is Melanie Lee. I'm a senior consultant with SCI. And so I just want to give you a bit of background information. The reason that this is called a landscape maintenance district is pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972. And so that allowed assessment districts to be formed to be able to fund specific improvements for landscaping, lighting, parks. What happened was when Proposition 13 passed, there was a lot of public agencies that relied on that additional revenue money from property tax sales. Well, what has happened is public agencies lost out on a lot of revenue. So in order to regain some of that revenue that they lost, assessment measures became really popular. And so in 1996, the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association said that
We appreciate you. We know you all need money. However, we need a specific defined process for how these assessment districts and other revenue measures are gonna work. And so that started with Proposition 218 that was approved by voters in 1996. And it took effect in 1997. So what it did was it established that you needed an annual budget. Basically, what it wanted to know is that the services that you were going to receive in this assessment district were above and beyond what you were currently receiving. So they wanted to know not just why you needed the money, but they wanted you to explain all of the services and the cost for those services. And then on top of that, they looked at the boundary. There's a boundary that had to be created. What parcels were going to be part of it? Parcels meaning properties, the types of properties. It also stated that you needed to have a licensed civil engineer because one of the main components of the engineer's report is to quantify the general versus special benefit. General meaning if someone who is outside of your neighborhood, who's going to come to the park or who's going to see your landscaping and be able to enjoy that, and they are not paying for it, that's the general benefit component. There's a special benefit contribution. And so in this engineer's report, you list all of the improvements that will be made, all the services that will be funded, any capital improvements that need to be done. It's part of this engineer's report. And so again, why is SCI here is because we have a firm, the licensed civil engineer. We have been in actually this is our 40th year. And our engineer who started this basically started our company on assessment districts and CFDs. With that, there's also a proportionality factor. So as you see now, with the way that the landscape and maintenance district is, every parcel pays the same amount. With a benefit assessment now after Prop 218, there's a variety of factors that have to be done. So single family homes will pay different than commercial properties. They'll pay different than vacant properties. They also look at, like I said, the special benefit component. Where is your proximity to these assessments, to these improvements that that will be listed? So there's a variety of factors that are done, and they're all part of this engineer's report. On top of that, there's this balloting process. So we send out a ballot to your property. It's done by property owners, no registered voters. It is also based on how many, the amount that you pay is your amount in votes. So it's very different from a special election where you go, let's say measure something's coming up, you go over to the ROV, you mail in your ballot, one registered voter gets one vote. This is very different. This is based on how much that you're going to pay. And so we send out a ballot. We have to send out a ballot notice. There's a 45-day balloting period. We tabulate the ballots that are received, and that helps us to calculate if it passed. If it receives a little over 50% of those weighted that were received, then it's approved.
That the ballots that came in or the homeowners?
So the ballots are received, the ballots go to property owners, and those property owners who sign and send their ballots back.
You could do this without 50% of the homeowners.
Right, so it's kind of like those, again, who go to if you're gonna go and vote in the June election, in the November election, they're only counting the votes of those who vote.
We're not talking about.
No, that's what I'm saying. So it's not for everyone if you sign, and that's why we're encouraging everyone to, when those ballots are sent out, to send them back in, and they'll be part of the tabulation process.
We have to do what ballot harvesting.
I don't know, sorry.
Yeah. You don't know.
Is that engineering report available?
So it will be, but as of right now, and you'll see you will see. So there is an engineer's report that is done annually for this landscape maintenance district. We do have it on the website. There's the last, I think, 5 years that's on there. But with this new Proposition 218, it will, right now we're scheduled, you'll see it at the end of the timeline. The first part of even initiating this process will happen in March. And then the board will, City Council will preliminarily approve the engineer's report in April. And then we will mail out the.
So what does the ballot say? What are the questions?
We don't know yet. No, we don't
Yeah.
know. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. We're gonna make some proposals to you. And, then we're gonna move forward.
I
based
got
on
a
the
question
vote.
there. As it stands now, the contract we have with the city, you can't increase our rates, correct?
That's correct.
So if we change it, it gives you the opportunity to increase our rates whenever you want. Is that correct?
That is not
No.
correct.
Yeah, but.
No.
Okay,
So,
So what is the process after this then for you increasing rates? You guys
Cost
make
of living, bro.
Yeah.
yeah, so.
whatever they wanna do.
No, it's an inflation.
Yeah.
So basically what we're gonna propose to you tonight, once again, I'm giving away my presentation. But, we're gonna propose some options and all those options are gonna have a inflation factor, cost of living. And that rate that you vote on is gonna be the rate that's always moving forward. We can't raise it except by the cost of living.
So let me ask you,
so, all right, I just wanna get through this slide, and I promise you, all of the questions that you have will probably be answered in the next few slides.
I do.
I
A lot
can
of-
promise you, it's actually pretty long and detailed,
Question about what you said
presentation.
in this slide.
Go
You said about weighted average based on your costs that you pay, is that on the future costs that you're proposing or the current?
No, so weighted meaning, if you're, let's say the rate that they're asking for is $100. Okay? So you would get a ballot for $100. And then somebody else who owns two properties in the assessment district, they would get a ballot for $100 for each property. That'd be $200.
So currently, it's what, is everyone's paying the same thing, no matter where you.
Right. So,
Everyone gets one vote for the same amount.
The vote is gonna be based off what we're proposing the rate to be. So we're gonna get to that. slide
yeah,
in a
we're gonna
second.
get to it, I
So
promise you.
I really want
Go
to ask
ahead.
my question, excuse me. So this engineering report is kind of a critical piece of documentary, right? And you're saying it's gonna be available in April?
So, we are gonna, so.
Very approximate. Because that's not my point. My point is this paying you as consulting, this is gonna cost L&D about $40,000, right?
So the engineer's report that outlines the cost for this fiscal year, because it's always projecting.
Now I'm talking about the 218 process.
Yeah, the Prop 218 was covered in last year's engineer's report, so you could go onto the website or the city,
So-
and you could see.
So we've
what that
already
is.
paid the $40,000 for the 218 process.
No,
You
so
have not.
technically that process has not started yet, because the city council has not taken any action. Right now, the city is on a listening tour. The city had a meeting in November.
Uh-huh.
Where we did the presentation and they got feedback, and now we're doing, based on that feedback, they're doing another, neighborhood meeting, and then there'll be another neighborhood meeting, in April.
Okay, this is what I'm getting to, is you're not burning through our $40,000 rate.
We're partial.
So you are starting the process, burning through our 218 process and burning through the $40,000.
We have to write the engineer's reports, so we will be using some of the funds to do that. But like the actual expensive balloting and doing all this stuff, obviously the consultant is getting paid for all the public outreach. that they're
So
doing in there.
when we somehow get to the point here where before you burn through the next big dollop of our the funds, will we know
We're
that?
gonna, if you would believe it, we actually have a slide on this.
10 more words to my question, okay? Which is, will we know that this is going to pass?
No.
So I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna talk about this.
In order to give them that vote, it's gonna cost you $35,000.
To find out.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that's why it's trying to get our input, so it has something that is more likely to pass, and he doesn't put up something that we'll all say no to.
Yeah, so we heard you in the last meeting.
Okay.
This was loud and clear. People had concerns about this. And if you just let me go
Okay,
through my
I'm done.
presentation, I'm gonna talk about these things. So I really am. And I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just trying to, I know there's gonna be a lot of questions and I'm gonna say a lot of stuff that's gonna answer some of those questions. And then other people are gonna have even more questions. So we're getting there. And if there's like something super critical, ask, but if not, we are gonna address a lot of those things.
Question and answer at the
I have
end.
a question, since you touched on the subject, I just want to pass it on, because you are more technical, you're consultant, you mentioned about special benefit and general benefit. The 218 forces only allow to access special benefit, not general benefit. The assessment only for special benefit, cannot assess general benefit.
So that's
So-
why the
So
engineer,
how do you define in your in your mind or your process, how do you define what is special benefit and what is general benefit? Is it proximity or it is not, or is it other things?
So,
That's my question to
That's
you.
a great question, and so let.
Since you.
Let me-
Next slide.
Okay, so,
If we can please hold, we have about 10 more slides to get through. If we can hold questions to the end so that everyone can get through the slides, I may have to leave early.
Thought in your mind. you
Okay,
don't wanna forget.
so how do we apply Proposition 218 to the Bonde Ranch LMD? So some of the special benefit factors is the creation of parcels. So the creation of parcels, this development was created because development established this assessment district. So that's a special benefit. Then there's other things that we can look at as views, access, and proximity to the services that are going to be provided. And then the wildfire risk. So one thing that you will notice that is different, and I discussed it earlier, is that right now everyone is paying the same fee. But with Proposition 218, there's two zones. There's Zone A and then there's Zone B. And then we have different rates by property type, but since these are primarily all single family homes, every single family home is paying the same rate unless you are in a different zone.
But
So the general benefit contribution.
Okay, I have to respond to that because this issue not happened in Bonde Ranch. It's happened all across California. In
Yes.
different city and different landscaping and different maintenance. A lot of California city treated open space and landscaping as general benefit, not special benefits or proximity. It's not in the calculation.
It depends on the
There
engineer,
are cases that it has been done,
so it
you know,
depends
in
on,
California city.
yeah, so I'll say that it depends specifically on the assessment district. There are assessment districts that only cover lands, like smaller areas like yours. And there's landscape and lighting districts that cover the entire town, like this, like town of Danville. Their assessment district covers the entire town, so all parks, streets, streetlights. So the general benefit calculation, that is part of what the engineer looks at when they are developing the engineer's report. That general benefit calculation and how it's defined is all part of that engineer's report.
So Cam, if you want to look for it, you could look at this fiscal year's engineer's report. But if you could, and I could talk to you more about this later, but if we could just get through the last 10 slides, I'm gonna try and power through here. When we first met with you, in the last November meeting, you know, we definitely heard some concerns about like, what is the city really spending our money on? Why, like, you know, we feel like we're not seeing any benefit from that. And so what we did is we came up with, expenditures for the last 10 years for Bonde Ranch. You could see the revenues we've got, 279,000. We've paid a little bit less than that. And you could see the majority of it, almost 40% is on that weed abatement to deal with the fires. A quarter of it is on landscape. This balloting procedure is 14%. It's concerning, I know. We don't wanna go through this process again. And I could hear you tell me, hey, we didn't want to go through this process at all. But I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about what we're trying to do about that. So this lays everything out. Once again, all this stuff is gonna be online and available for anybody to view after this presentation. When we came in November, we said, hey, you know what, we think this is about the amount we would suggest, based off of a number of factors, from the condition of the existing landscape to the feedback, you know, we've seen from residents over the last decade, to what is kind of a general municipally maintained landscape. But in reality, what we would like to do is have this level of landscape maintenance, which is a high level consistent with the formation of this development, which means you're gonna see like really good looking plants, you're gonna see everything healthy, you're gonna see regular maintenance, you know, it's gonna keep your property values up. And this is what we would propose if there weren't these other factors. But because of the other factors, we think, you know what, this is probably more in line with what's reasonable. And talking about what I mentioned, the cam over there is, if we had that same rate, $396 from 1996 to now, that would be $91,500 that people would be paying if there was an inflation factor. And what we're actually proposing is lower than what the inflation factor would raise it up to. And so this is what this is kind of what we think would be a good spot to land if people don't want to see better maintenance of the landscape maintenance this year. But in that last meeting, we definitely heard from people, we want to reduce maintenance. We don't want to pay more money. So we have this option here, which is the reduced maintenance option. It's much less, but it is still more. These three options are sustainable long-term solutions. But with this reduced maintenance option, it could mean that we have to come back for another Prop 218 vote if something really bad happens, like we have flooding or we have to major repairs we need to do to our concrete like V-ditch system, or a number of trees blow down in a storm and we have to, spend $100,000 on tree removal or something like that. So this one is a little bit risky. This one is not risky, but doesn't give you full level improvements. All of them are focus on fire life and safety, and that's what these do. And then currently, this is what you pay now, $40,800, and this isn't sustainable.
What's the differential between the formational document study and the city recommended per unit?
Yeah,
Per
I'm
unit?
gonna get that. I got that second in. Okay, there it is. Okay, so.
What took you so long?
So yeah, so like Melanie was talking about, we have a zone A and a zone B. And with the formation standard, which is basically saying, hey, if we maintain the landscape consistent with what was planted at the beginning of the development, this is what we think you would be paying. But a lot of stuff hasn't lived, and so we're focusing on what's left. And that's what we're proposing now. So in zone A, you pay about $120 a month. Right now, you pay about $400 a year, which is, about $33. But in zone B, you pay $53 a month. In the city recommended one, you pay $84 in zone A, $37, almost the same as you pay now. And then if you do a reduced maintenance option, you pay $53 in zone A and $23 a month.
What do you mean per month? Like, this is like based on the property taxes, right?
53 times 12.
The property
Yeah,
taxes.
it's a monthly breakdown.
They don't want to
Yeah.
tell you.
The
First numbers.
Total amounts listed.
We did it in monthly just because, like, when I'm thinking about bills, I'm paying it in monthly, so.
That's up there.
The
But
totals
these are
are-
totals, your totals are totals. This is not in addition to what
Oh, I
we're
see.
currently paying.
This is total, yeah, not in addition.
Okay.
Yeah, if you break down what you're paying now, it's about $33 a month, if you want to just compare it.
Oh.
Cam, please, okay,
How far out did you calculate the inflation?
Next year.
sorry, what's your, like, how far did we, to
So
determine
we're
what?
on inflation, so let's say 5 years down the road, the inflation is gonna go up, the cost of maintenance is gonna go up.
Yeah.
Have you attributed that in your calculation?
This is what you'd be paying in year one. Every time inflation happens and it goes up 3%, 2%, 2.5%, whatever it is, this is gonna go from $53 to $56 or whatever the case is. And so that's gonna keep on going up.
And the fourth
Forever.
So is there
Yes.
Forever, yeah.
Forever.
But
That's
it's,
why I didn't want to vote for them.
No, I.
$84 is gonna keep going up.
It's different.
So is that true, Matt? If you're proposing $84 a month, and so in addition to that, it's gonna grow up 3, 4, 5% every year? Is that what you're saying?
It could go up that much. Now, what could happen is, everything that we do, like I said, all the assessments that you pay only get used on your assessment district. So let's say years down the line, we've developed a reserve fund that could take care of big tree removals, doing big projects, then we probably stagnate and we probably keep things consistent. But we would always have that ability to go up with inflation if we need to.
So you
Yeah,
go
but
to
there's no cap to it.
vote in, put
that?
into
So there's no
ballot,
cap to it.
Just like your
property
Yeah.
you gonna put into ballot for escalation,
Yeah.
factor into the balance.
Yes,
That's-
yes.
So, but. Escalation into one ballot.
Yes.
But it wasn't mentioned in the handouts. I thought it's only, it doesn't include the escalation.
Yeah, all these things, so these three options are what we're proposing for to be on the ballot. We could only put one thing on the ballot, and it's gonna be a yes or no vote. And I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but we are gonna do a survey to all the, so everybody that has the email, I need that email, because we're gonna send out a survey monkey that's basically gonna say this one, this one, this one, or no, period. And we will be taking that into account on how we move forward.
We have talked for some time,
Yeah.
before the new year,
Yes,
and I was proposing is do not change the assessment.
I know,
but
Cam,
increase,
but we can't do that. That's why we're in this position in the first place.
Well,
But
but
if I could just keep on going.
Just a moment, sorry.
Okay.
Is district contributing to any of this maintenance?
Is the sorry, what?
The Pleasanton City contributing to any of this maintenance?
No.
No.
Yeah, so you're gonna look at the engineer's reports, and we contribute the general benefit. So like these storm drain systems go into a city storm drain system. So the city pays for down slope from those areas. So that's how we contribute. We don't contribute a monetary value. That's your simple question.
how do you determine zone A and zone B, the factor? Like zone A right now is 2.5 times as much as zone B.
Yeah,
And I was proposing the original spirit.
it's
which is-
all about the special benefit that.
No,
is
that's why I'm asking
received.
her what is special benefit.
It-
Because
And
this
she talked
issue-
about it,
this-
she talked about it kind of
this
what.
issue happens a lot, in a lot of cities.
Sir,
I
sir,
understand.
and respectful for everybody in the room, can we please finish up the presentation, and we'll stick around as late as we need to be to answer your
But I
questions.
thought this meeting is
Go ahead.
also,
Yeah,
is also be.
we'll have,
allowed to-
we'll answer more questions,
Yeah.
Chairman. I'm almost done. So just, we try to put it in a graphics that's simple to understand, and, we show this is actually a part of the landscape maintenance district. And we punch it into a, AI formula, and we kind of show, hey, this nice flower, this is what the formation document level would be. What we're proposing is, hey, this looks okay. This is what the reduced maintenance, it's still alive, but it's not thriving. And then this is what you have now, which is like, it's dead, it's dying. This is what you're voting on if you put it in picture
So
form.
when there's a drought and they cut off water to the city and they knock out water, it's gonna look like the first one, no matter what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing that I wanna say is that,
There's no water.
See, fences will get repaired, drainage ditches will get
Yeah.
be maintained, so it's a whole.
That's
bunch.
but it's not like we cannot water at all. It's anything we're gonna be proposing is gonna be water wise. We're not proposing to have some like Chinese or eucalyptus, Australian plant that is gonna suck up a bunch of
Again,
water.
like the Australian trees. The maintenance part of the landscaping you're gonna do is on Independence that you're gonna fix, is that what we discussed in the last meeting?
Independence and then kind of on Middleton and Livingston, but Independence is the main one.
That was the one you said you were gonna do.
That's-
last meeting.
The other one is, that's the nicest one. That's like the main entry. That's the one that probably would have the most money going towards it. Getting back to my presentation here, really why your vote matters. If you vote yes, you're gonna get increased fire break maintenance, you're gonna get irrigation and plant repair and replacement. That will help protect against fires. You're gonna get removal of dry vegetation, dead trees in the fuel areas, which is critical to preventing, ladder fuel fires. And, you're gonna get this entry feature repairs and improvements and proactive and preventative care, primarily along Independence. If you vote no, you're voting on an increased fire risk, you're voting on continued service reductions. Irrigation is gonna continue to be turned off. You're gonna see more and more deterioration of the landscape and the trees. You're gonna have continued deferred repairs. We did that fence repair. You might not see another fence repair for a while. If any of those ditches have problems, we're not gonna be able to repair them. We won't be doing any vegetation management, and we will have to go through another Prop 218 process. We do need a sustainable solution. As a city, we're obligated to do that, and the only way we could do that is through Prop 218 process. So, why this matters to you, I basically said all this stuff. but really it reduces your wildland fire risk. It promotes a safe and friendly and family-oriented neighborhood. What you should be thinking about is it does improve your property values. You know, I try and put it in terms of if I lived in a place that had really expensive fire insurance versus not expensive fire insurance, you're maybe paying $2,000 or $3,000 for fire insurance a year versus $6,000, $7,000, $10,000. Now, that's a lot different than what the difference we're proposing. We're talking about hundreds of dollars, that's thousands of dollars. It also protects open space and it creates visually appealing things. Now, share your input. You know, today this is about talking to you, getting your feedback. We've definitely received a lot of feedback. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more feedback during the question and answer session. But we are doing the survey like I talked about, and we're going to have 4 options for people to vote on and tell your neighbors about it. There's some little handouts right there you can take home that have this QR code that'll take you to the survey. That survey has to tie to your property and your email address so that we're not counting people that don't live here's votes.
Just quick, so you're not willing to have an option that increases the assessment, but no CPI or COLA? You're not willing.
No, because that's, so I'll just say there's 5 landscape maintenance districts in the city. 2 of them are Bonde Ranch and Ponderosa del Prado. Those are the 2 problem ones that we're addressing right now, and we're going through a Prop 218 vote. One of them, the HOA is working with the city to take over maintenance. We don't really have that option with Bonde Ranch, but if you want to form an HOA, I could tell you, I'd be happy to let you do all the landscape like management, because
I get all that, I'm just saying,
but anyways, yeah, the two that had a CPI built into them, inflation factor, like they're gold.
they don't pay any property insurance and they're super.
Well, no, I mean, both of them are actually,
No,
they're in high fire, so they're on the other side of Foothill.
Well,
Yeah,
personally, I'm happy to pay a larger assessment. I think, and I'd like for this to get done, like, so we don't blow $35,000 and end up with
Yeah.
a no vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is if you were to eliminate the coal indexing and increase the assessment, your chances of getting a majority vote is much higher.
I totally, I hear that, but then future Matt, he's gonna be in the same position that I'm in right now in another 25 years, and we're gonna have to do another Prop 218 vote.
So the previous.
Yeah, but your risk is that you're gonna be mad next year. A no vote.
That is true.
Right, so,
That's
I mean,
true. I'm almost done though, but like 1 or 2 slides left, so let me just.
Quick.
Yeah, I'm almost, so here's our process, right? We started in November, here we are tonight talking in February. The city council is gonna vote to, they're gonna have a resolution initiating proceedings. That doesn't really mean anything to anything except that we're starting the process. Then we're having another neighborhood vote right at the beginning, or neighborhood meeting in the beginning of April. Then on May 5th, that's when kind of everything's resolved. Like, we're gonna be presenting to the city council what that final decision is, what's gonna be on the ballot. We set out ballots on May 15th. We tabulate ballots on July 21st, and in August, whatever that assessment is, it goes out, whether it's the same or one of any of the options. So everything is gonna be resolved, fingers crossed.
Is there
My fingers
any way
crossed for sure.
Is there any way to circumvent this going to
I wish,
ballot
I
and
wish.
just vote within the Bonde Ranch owners?
We can't do that.
And hold the $35,000 towards repair maintenance for our property
We don't before that.
I wish there was.
with
Yeah.
an increase.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. That would be great. That would be ideal. Like I said, with those other maintenance districts that have the CPI, I could do that with them because I'm well below their threshold. Like, we could adjust their thing to pay for the things that they want to get done, right? Like, they want to do a big fencing project, we could do that fencing project. But we have to get in position where we are able to have a sustainable solution for not just 5 or 10 years down the line, but 20, 30, 40 years down the line. So I mean, like I said, I live in the neighborhood, like my property almost touches Bonde Ranch. You could see my house right here. What's that? Well,
There's no seat for that.
there's a-
And we're gonna assess your.
Yeah, just fold that property right into the district.
Yeah.
So
Special assessment.
So I do want to point out a couple things on our timetable for this, right? And so part of having our meeting on in April, right, is for us to come back to you and share with what the survey says, right? And what we're going to be making our recommendations to council for. And that gives you your opportunity to go to the board. Our city council is your LMD board. And that's your opportunity to discuss directly with the board. Obviously, our report to the board, to the council, we're try to capture the consensus of the group. That's part of the survey to provide that information. And we'll educate the council on this items. So before we go through this expensive process of going through the formal belting process, right? Can't save all the money, right? We have to do all this work to get to this particular point. But if we don't think that we have a consensus, right, or we don't think that we have a viable vote, that's part of what we're gonna be educating the board on, right, is what we're hearing here. This is why we're doing this listening sessions to find out where do you guys wanna go? If CPI indexing is the thing that is what not to do, right, then maybe we take that away from it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, you saw this Prop 218 process is 14% of what you spent in the last 10 years. And to be financially sound with you all, putting a CPI index prevents us from having to come back and making this type of expenditure. This is an expenditure not by the city. This is a process that was established by the state that we have to follow through. It's very complex. It's not something that we simply can do, and we do have to bring consultants in to do it.
But the city triggers.
The board, the LMD board, which is your city council, voted for this process.
That's the cities.
So it's your landscape maintenance
The
district.
city's trying to get cash everywhere they can, very often.
I just want to be clear, if the city could like give the residents this landscape maintenance district, we would be happy to do that. We don't want money from you to take care of it. We would prefer to have the HOA take over if you had an HOA. We're not trying to get extra money. This money doesn't go to the city. This money is only for.
So Matt, let's say for instance, that the residents decided to go down the HOA route. Just hypothetically, okay? Get rid of the idea or bad idea. How,
We'd sell your house.
yeah. You can paint it again. How would we as residents be able to communicate to the group? I think this is the big issue that I have, is it proper for the city to provide a list of all the Bonde Ranch residents so that we could communicate amongst ourselves or form a group that would either one, decide to go down an HOA because everybody decided that was a better option, or B, come back to you with really the consensus of the residents, right? Sort of like your survey.
Yeah.
Right? But at least the residents can amongst ourselves cash it out.
Yeah, so I think, that I have a list of as many emails. I don't know who did get an email from me. And who didn't get an email from me?
Did or did not?
Did not.
Did not.
Okay, so we have emails, but the emails that I have are based off of utility billing. So if you have a utility billing email that you use, that's like, I don't want the city to have be bugging me, and so I use this throwaway email and I never check it. That's the email that it's going to, or if I have it incorrect or it's old or whatever the case is, those are the emails that I have. But if the group wants this to happen and have an email distribution list, I could send an email out to all the people. I do have emails, and all the people here could provide emails, and people could decide themselves. Like I could say, hey, would you be willing to be on this email list? And everybody that says yes, I could do.
So it'd be an opt-in, opt-out.
Yeah, opt in, opt out.
Okay.
How many parcels are there in the development total?
Was it 103, I think?
103.
Yeah.
And this is the turnout.
I mean, I think this is pretty good if I'm being honest.
Yeah, but I didn't get that email.
So, I mean, people always talk to
Yeah,
me
but I'm
about
not
this, like,
concerned
hey,
about-
we didn't know about this,
Very
but
few.
it's really hard to reach out to residents if like me. I get those little notifications in the mail. Everybody should have got a flyer in their mail, but who actually reads those flyers? I'm like, this isn't like, this is not relevant. This doesn't say Matt Gruber, here's a paycheck for you. This is in the junk mail.
Every last question now?
Yeah, I'm done. This is it. If you want to talk to me, there's a link to the website. So like I said, there's a bunch of stuff on the website. There I am. I have business cards and, now we could end.
Is that the Bonde Ranch webs, or Bonde Ranch
Yeah,
website?
so there's two QR codes in this presentation. One is for the Bonde Ranch website and one is for the survey.
Okay.
This one's for the Bonde Ranch website, the one that was a couple slides ago.
There was a link
Sure,
in your
the
last
survey-
email too.
Yes,
So
yes,
the survey is gonna be based on email address as well, right?
yeah, so that's why it's,
distribution. So it's gonna be the same.
I told you to ask question.
Yeah, that's why I asked, how many-
That's
that's why I asked how many parcels there are. It's showing up. You know,
Everybody
30
pays
people that appear.
$287.
No.
$396.
396.
Okay,
Nice.
you raised it to 396 this year.
yes.
Correct.
That's for 20, whatever, 28.
29 years.
29. So you raised, already you raised the 30% basically.
54%.
Are you asking a question or making a
No,
statement?
no, I'm trying to understand something. And that's, so your funds now, moving forward, you have 54% more coming in. than
Yeah,
you-
way better, we're in way better
You
shape, for
have-
sure.
One of the options also showing that, because the way you're showing, you're.
We do.
The no raise rate right now is basically reducing the zone B to 287 again. So if you're saying the one on the right, you wanna reduce what the zone A are paying 2026 back to 287. And then.
Okay,
triple the
yeah,
rest of the-
So if we did do that, we would still have to go through the Prop 218 process and everything would need to be voted on. If we said, hey, we're just gonna leave it as is now, everybody's gonna pay the same because it's grandfathered
Okay,
in.
so if everybody pays the 396, you have 56% more. Do you have a column showing with that additional revenue where you're gonna be?
This is the column that shows the additional.
No,
revenue.
I think what I understand what he's saying, so currently we are paying that.
Yeah.
But if you add the proposal that you're making, either, let's say, reduced maintenance or city recommended, what is the additional cost we'll be paying in addition to what we are paying currently?
That's it.
10,000.
That's what we want to know.
You need to show also,
Yeah.
this year, 4% increase for that, give 5 years growth of what it's gonna be. Rather than just 1 month without any growth to it, because that's very deceiving. If people can't budget correctly off the numbers you're putting in. Because that's gonna go up by 2 or 3% per year,
Right.
regardless if you say it or won't, it will. You got.
So I think you have to plot it with
5
the,
years worth.
what you, what, by the assumption what we are gonna choose. And in 2026, this will be your payment, and then moving forward, based on, inflation, 3 or 4, 5%.
10-year projection.
Yeah, the projection, all that needs to be laid out clearly, so we all understand what we are voting for yes or no.
Okay,
So the other thing is that the previous proposal I saw said that the CPI is actually the housing cost index for San Francisco area, which is a lot higher than the CPI, the federal CPI.
so
So,
this is based off of the CPI for this area, for Pleasanton, which is.
I mean, that's not a well-defined number. I mean,
It's a, what?
it's not a well-defined number, because I don't know how you come up with it.
It is a verified number, yeah, it's just like all the construction and cost index and stuff are
Yeah,
out
the
there.
construction cost index, I don't know, it's not some well-defined organization like DLS that puts it out. So I don't want to.
It is verified, yeah.
If it's the federal CPI or something like a 2% cap, I will sign up for this.
So why don't you put that as part of the proposal, because there's gonna be a big consternation over where the CPI is. Why don't you cap it?
Yeah.
Put a number, whether it's 2, whatever the number is, just cap it.
So,
And then that way people, you can do a projection for 10 years, and it's capped.
and so we do have, it'll have it in the ballot language as well. What we do say is that the annual increase, or that is subject to an annual increase of the CPI, which is done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And, that it'll be capped each year at 3%. So this year, I think it was like a little over, I just did it, I'm sorry, so it's like 3.2. 3.010. Thank you, Susan. You're shining.
They want to consider the cap a little bit lower.
But,
Yeah.
so last year was 2.86. And so it does fluctuate, Sometimes, and we've seen in the past few years where it's gone up to 4%. But again, that cap allows it to stop at 3%.
Well, that's good.
So the
Yeah.
voting is the people who supposedly gonna pay 3 times more, they're gonna have 2 times rate versus the people who.
Yeah, they'll have, their vote will be much heavier.
Now, the one that are gonna pay less, they're gonna have less than one times rate.
Yeah, so, if it, let's say, again, I think it was like $53 for the higher amount. So the property owner in zone A, their vote would be, $633 worth of votes, because it's based on the annual. And then in zone B, it would be $278.
And that's required by the state to do that?
So there's a
That's
proposition,
something you want.
that's part of Proposition 218.
All of what we're talking about is a state requirement. If the city didn't have to do this, if we could just say, hey, let's work with you as property owners and tell us like what's a comfortable rate and how we're gonna do this, we would do that, but it's not a legal thing.
So you guys are.
Matt, I have a question about, one of your slides talks about yes means increased fire protection,
Yeah,
but it doesn't.
Fire break,
Fire break, but it doesn't really talk about
what that is.
what that is based on what you just, what you just.
What does that
So-
consist of?
So,
yeah, so that's a really good question, and actually, let me kind of talk, I talked about this a little bit more, is,
If you go back to the map that shows the areas.
So what we're talking about, he pulls up that graph, right, and Matt can get into more details associated with this. As we do more maintenance,
Yeah.
we prune trees and take the dead material out. We go in and limb up the trees to get rid of what's called ladder fuels. That goes in with these areas. This decreases your fire risk.
Which trees are
I
there?
have a question on that.
Over the 100 trees that were within the LMD district. So right now, we have not been in pruning your trees, which
So
means
you're
we have not
You're
been
gonna go into
removing.
the field, and take an oak tree, and cut off all the bottom branches.
15 years.
we're gonna limit,
100-year-old oak trees, you're gonna butcher them up?
well, we're not gonna butcher.
Oh,
them.
So what we're gonna do is,
These are all 100-year-old trees.
when you look at the row of eucalyptus or the group of trees in
can we
the north,
listen, please?
um,
Can we
what
hear?
we're doing is, when we talk about ladder fuels, that grass fire, as it's burning across, hot air rises, fuels rise, flame. That's why when you cook your s'mores, you can feel that heat. When we're pruning the trees and have the money to do more than just the basic fuel mitigation, it eliminates that ladder fuel concept where the fire spreads from the surface fuels, the grasses, into the lower limbs, up to the canopy of the trees, which then as the canopy of tree burns, you get more spot fires and ember casting, which then lands on roofs or, homes and catches those, homes on fire or structures. So by having the funds to go in and do the tree maintenance, which has been deferred, that'll eliminate that spread through the ladder fuels.
But my question is specific to these different levels of service, right, or different levels of expense. But, I mean, if I vote for whatever the highest one is the fire break around my house and the houses that are next to mine, is it bigger? Or is it the same as it's been for the last 30 years?
Yeah, so you could see what the breakdown is on all these. Once again, all this is available online, so you can look at it. But, when we're looking at fuel management, we are setting a minimum regardless of whatever the option is, because to us, like I said before, fire life and safety, that's like the #1 concern, we gotta cover that. So all three of these options have the same level of You know,
A fixed amount of space.
fuel management, pruning.
Fixed amount
So
of
it's
space.
just gonna be the same as it's always been.
No, more than it is now, like,
But the fire
this got raised up this last year because we, like everybody says, we, actually have that money because we have about 10 to
Yeah,
12,000 more dollars.
I think part of that question is if you go to the space behind your house, that right now they're, let's say, weed whacking out 50 feet. It's gonna still be 50 feet
Yeah.
with this approval. It's not gonna go to 60.
With
or
this
70.
option, with this upper option, we would be looking to do, you know, more, because I think we could be more responsive.
So what's the difference between what you're doing currently and what that proposed
What,
plan would do?
what we're doing currently, this is like.
Nothing.
There you go, there you go. Yeah, like I said, all we do right now for fuel management is that we mow 30 feet or weed whack 30 feet off homes, and that's it. We don't do any trees.
Maintenance and city recommended, so you're not going to go beyond 50 feet, you're just gonna.
30. It's not 50.
It's 30, yeah.
Or
So
30 feet
I
or
think,
whatever.
I think with this one, we can. With this
But not
one,
with the other two.
with these ones, we would basically be doing the 30 feet, or it could change in the future. I know there's talk.
Some of that, we're talking a little bit about, may change just with laws and things like that. So if we look at zone 0 didn't exist before the campfire, and now
Right.
we're working at, you know, the areas close to the home. When the wildland urban interface first started, 30 feet was the max. And now it's up to 100 feet depending on the slope and things like that. So there are some things in the future that we can't predict. But the main point of this is, you know, when we look at like trees and things like that, for the fuels management, we can look at this number right here and having the funds to be able to get in and remove the dead and down. You know, there was a question about eucalyptus, do more than just the mowed 30 feet. That's what we're referencing.
And in the open spaces that aren't in the zones, and don't have the fire protection, there are dead trees that are.
On
they
city
were-
property,
They were
actually.
planted on city property
City
and they've
property.
been let to die. Will we be able to, or someone be able
Scream at the
to
city to have them
take
get off
those
their
out?
ass and do something about it?
That's something that we'll definitely take a look at.
So let's talk a little bit, just to maybe help for you guys understanding, right? So one of the largest difference of our basic service from what we have currently to our reduced maintenance versions. Majority of the cost is associated with what we call our maintenance contract. This is our contractor coming out on a monthly basis and cleaning up the landscaping that's currently there. Removing the dead plants, going out the leaves, removing the dead components of the stuff. Right now, they're lucky if they can do a little bit. One crew for a couple hours can't get everywhere, and they're not removing that small debris that's there, right? So we have debris buildup. That is a ladder fuel buildup that we can't address. So yes, the big fire breaks that we mow at the tall grasses and annually, that is our highest priority for fire dangers. It's required. If we don't do it, we're gonna get a call from Matt going, hey, go do that, or we're going to fine you. And so those are minimum requirements that we have to do regardless. And prior to us raising the rates, we were at a point that we were burning through the reserve monies that were there just to stay par with our mowing contracts to be able to do those items. So yes, our improvement that we just approved helps gets us to a sustainable area, but it really doesn't do it. If we go back to that picture of those plants and where we're at, it's dead, right? There's nothing to look at. And that dead stuff adds risk to fire. Okay, so that's when we say that there's an increased abilities to address this. This is about having people out there on a regular basis every month, more than a couple hours, to come out and start removing some of those things and making it look better, right? That we go with it. And we're able to do some more fence repairs that's associated with it out there, and some plant and vegetation management, actually be able to do something with those dead plants other than just remove.
So
Okay,
those,
so I-
those
I
first
got-
two items, those two, and that's what you're paying to the landscape contractor?
Yeah, this is what we pay right now, and basically that's all we pay to once.
So it's 14 grand a month.
No, this is
Year.
annual.
Annual.
This is annual.
And that's it.
So 14 grand a year. So we pay him $500 a month to do very little, nothing. And we pay him right now $77.40 to do the minimum weed abatement required by the law.
Why don't you just
Now you
hire
can
a bunch
see-
of goats and put it on the field and eat all the grass?
If you would believe it, goats are not cheap.
Goats are expensive.
Yeah.
So Matt, I got, so we basically boiled this down into two zones, A and B. The favorite word everybody keeps using is the special benefit.
Yep.
And so I did a calculation, I live on those zones, you know that. So I get about 50%. Okay, of those costs, because I don't get any landscape, and I'm just going off the 30 years that I've lived there, they've shut off the water roughly 15 or 20 years ago, I don't know exactly what it was, so. A lot of the things that are part of this 10-year plan or 10-year budget, I'm not recouping any of it, so that as far as I'm concerned, look at the special benefit. I'm getting about 50% of the total cost, yet I'm gonna get more than double the price tag. So I wanna go back to, if I want to pay more, but when you say we're gonna turn water back on, and if it's only on our lane, and I'm sorry if anybody's here on our lane, that's great. But if I'm on Roseland and I don't get any water, there's no special benefit for me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand if it's a special benefit, where are those benefits gonna be? And I wanna make sure that I'm part of that, because if I'm gonna pay more, at the end of the day, if I pay more than double and I get exactly what I get today, that
Makes no sense.
that makes no sense. Why would I support that? And nobody on my street should support that. So it would be really important, I think, to understand when you say you're gonna do certain things, can we talk about what those are? So that, because I can't vote for something that says I'm gonna pay twice as much if I don't think I'm gonna get a single thing. Why would I do that?
So I live down the street from you, I'm on Pamela.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, the storm gutters are gonna be cleared. I spent an hour this morning shoveling the leaves that have run from your street, that on the storm drain to my house. So I love.
Those are not my lead. Those leaves are on Burnell, they're not mine. No, we're mine.
So when those leaves catch on fire and that fire goes up the hill to your house, then there is a benefit
Yeah.
because I clean those leaves up right
Okay,
now.
well, okay, I'm talking about, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about landscape maintenance, water, things
That
like
is
that.
landscape.
On an individual
Okay.
basis. All right, okay.
You You're not gonna go out there and clean the
I'm not
leaves.
getting any trees. All the trees on my street have died. They pulled them out. There's nothing going on there. So pretty soon, none of those leaves will come down because all the trees are gonna be gone.
Everybody's backyard.
But I do have a specific question. Are you really talking about with this increase, even the reduced maintenance, you will clean out the storm drains?
Yes,
And do those storm drains,
3 times a year.
do those storm drains, that actually are on the back ends of property or whatever, but go through my neighbor's property? Is it your responsibility? Will it be the responsibility of the maintenance district to help them? Because
On private property.
on private property?
No, so Adam could probably talk about this, but I'm only talking about, and Barry, this gets back to, and I know you don't like this answer, but we are only talking about the landscape maintenance district. Like I would love as a landscape architect to make everything beautiful. You know, you talked about oak trees. I love oak trees, right? Like I didn't get into the profession of being, you know, I didn't think I was gonna be a landscape maintenance district manager. That wouldn't have been a profession I would have chosen it, but I love trees and I love plants and I want everything to look good and I want to help everybody do that. But the fact is, here, we're only talking about the areas that were covered in the landscape maintenance district areas. That doesn't cover the 3 entrances.
As a
to the
whole,
cul-de-sacs.
not on an individual basis. You can't look at it because my house doesn't have trees or my house has all the trees.
I mean,
This is about the development. the Bonde Ranch development we all live in. And yeah, someone like me, I'm gonna have to pay more. Because I'm right on Arlene. And although my house doesn't have a,
There's no landscape.
yeah, I've got just about shy of an acre on one of the corner. And I've cleaned that V ditch every year for the past 15 years and haven't seen anyone else touch it.
Ever.
But I do it because I don't want it to collapse or have the hill slide into my backyard. But I'm speaking as for myself, it's about the whole development, not about an individual. And I agree with you, because before I came down here, I was saying, I'm paying $40 a year and getting nothing. Why would I agree to pay?
Well, I get something.
More.
No, I get something.
And
I
not get anything more.
I get weed whacked every year. I get.
And that's it.
That's all I get.
And that's all I get too.
That's all.
That's all I get to, but I can't say that because at the end of my property, which is, like I said, almost an acre. There's the entire rest of the street that has oleander bushes on it.
Does
Now,
anybody maintain?
Dana here lives at the end of that block and she says, yeah, they maintain it, and I argue that I haven't seen anyone for years. And I love Dana, she's one of the original owners, we moved in about the same time.
Well, I'm an original owner and I can tell you this. I understand it's the big picture, but I'm sorry, I don't look at the houses that are off of Angela as. You can look at it
I
that way,
agree
I
with you.
don't, I look at, this
I
is my,
agree.
this
This
is
is gonna
my
be an
street,
individual
every
person.
time I turn into my street.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing, and that's my world.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with it or not,
No,
that's the way I look at it.
I agree with you.
And
there
so,
are
and in
gonna
my
be people
world
that are gonna
is,
say no
I
because of that
want us,
reason.
if there's a special benefit tax. And we're gonna increase it. And there is no change in what I got. It doesn't make sense
I
to me because. I'm sorry, I don't care what happens on Arlene.
I
You know?
agree. No,
Because I
no
don't
offense.
live on Arlene.
I don't take offense to that because,
Yeah.
you know.
So we
I'm
gotta-
gonna say
We got
yes.
some more questions here.
I'm gonna say yes, but that means you're gonna pay 3 times as much, and I don't think that's fair. I agree with you.
So your previous, one of your slides indicated that you guys have turned off the water 10, 15, whatever years ago. So based on the, one of these plans, whatever we select, if you turn on the water back on, or you fix, what's gonna help? What plants are getting water? What is the, sprinkler gonna do?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So, I mean, you're gonna see the irrigation costs change pretty dramatically between the different options. $15,000 means you're really getting a lot of landscape improvements in all, primarily along Independence and then along like Livingston and Middleton. Because those are the areas that were originally
So
maintained.
there's no plants over there where you can put, when you turn on the sprinkler system, they're gonna get water. What plants you're talking? I'm confused.
So all along Independence, there's manzanita, there's a bunch of other stuff, there's a bunch of oak trees along there, there's eucalyptus, not to say we're gonna water those, but. If you actually look on Independence Hillside, you'll see these scraggly looking oak trees that were planted 15 years ago, and they never grew because they never got water. So,
Cherry trees too.
then cherry tree, Barry knows what it looks like when people turn off water, the city.
Well, are you gonna replenish the ones that he lost?
Well, that's the problem. I wish I could tell Barry that, yes, I will do that as part of this, but that's outside of the landscape maintenance
So you're
district.
telling me that inside Roselma, where the fences are running up, that is not part of the landscape maintenance?
Along the,
I'm
how
not talking about
far?
Burnell, I'm talking about on Roselma.
Yeah,
Right.
so there's a section that goes in. I was already, I want to let you know, I
No,
did
no, I'm
look
just curious
into
because-
your question, and I have the plans.
Cause I was told that was part of landscape maintenance.
Yeah.
Not by you,
I
but
know.
by somebody, by your predecessor.
Yeah, so I've got the plans for the original development and they clearly showed the different irrigation systems, like, hey, this was part of the city irrigation system that's included in the right of way and it's all one and And that got turned off 15 years ago, and that's been doing what it's been doing, and then our
You're saying
system,
that's not part of the landscape.
and that's not part of the landscape.
So if we vote for this and we go, we say we pick the middle one there and my rates go up. You're gonna do the maintenance the same as you're doing on the side of Bernal behind my house, the same? Cause everything on that side, but the city's taking care of it. The water's off and all the plants are dying. So we're gonna get the same care and treatment. for
Yeah, I
new
mean,
landscape?
you could talk to the city about it, but that's our parks, that takes care of that area, and we don't have money to do it, so.
That's, everything on
So
that
why
side is
what
fine.
is the answer that we don't have money to do it?
With the city?
For whatever, you know, that's the answer we get all the time. We don't have the money, we don't have the budget, so
That's what.
somewhere, somehow, the money is not getting, you know, used correctly, it looks like that to me.
So I got a couple questions that we're gonna try to get to, and I'll circle back about the money issue, particularly for the,
I have one more question. So, me and him live in the same street on Rosalma. So I have a question. So we have, when you make a right turn, there's plants on the right side and the plants on the left. I think they look like red cherry.
Yes,
So
flowering plants.
yeah, so are they going to be, are they part of the,
He says they're not part of the landscape.
they're not part of the landscape
Which
at
is
all?
news to me.
So you, the water are turned off, and
Nope.
if we approve that, yeah,
So you could see, on all the front, these parcels, these are all city parcels.
right.
The landscape maintenance district is these parcels. So like on the back of Pamela, this area is the landscape maintenance district.
So,
You know, these back of the home areas, but all the frontage is the city, it's within the city right away.
some of those plants, right, berries that they're
Well,
dying.
the only problem is the back of all of those areas, but it's basically only fire break, that's all there is.
So
Yeah,
this
I will
is
say though,
dying.
when I did the fence project, I did work with the Parks Division to make sure we covered all the fences. I did miss this fence, right at the back there.
Right.
Somebody pointed it out to me, but, we did find money to do those improvements. But our parks division is getting gutted.
So
So
how
it's
are we
it's
getting
not a good
water, so
story.
the sprinklers are off for those trees because they seem to
Everything's,
die.
yeah, everything's off.
They seem to be dying.
Yeah,
So
they are.
basically, even if we pay, they're not gonna be turned on then.
If it's city property, they're not turning on the city sprinklers.
Yeah.
No,
This is
the
only
city
for Bonnie Ranch area. The city would not be turning on their sprinklers as a benefit to us because they already have it turned off. So whatever city property is probably gonna stay the way.
I got a couple people here, and then we're gonna go over here in the back, and then we'll come right back up to you, okay?
My main concern is fire break and eucalyptus trees. And so if the eucalyptus trees that are on the inside the district are maintained, but the trees that are maintained by the city are not maintained, it really doesn't do us a whole lot of good. And another like ladder building fire question about like the chips from the eucalyptus tree, the huge eucalyptus tree that was cut down. It was chipped and just strewn out there. Is that a fire danger, or was that the right way to dispose of that tree?
Yeah, so chipped material doesn't necessarily burn as hot as standing grass or things like that. So chipped material up against the hillside can do a lot of benefit. As far as on a slope, it can keep it from sliding and things like that. I can't speak specifically to that one area, but as far as chipping as a whole doesn't create a significant fire hazard. It's more the buildup of like when a eucalyptus tree is shedding and all that's at the base of the tree, then that adds to the heat and the fire spread up the tree. But when a tree is removed or some limbs are, we either call it lop and scattered or chipped and scattered. As long as it's not built up in a pile, that's not creating a significant hazard in itself.
And just as a point of reference, Matt and I are working on a fuel management project on Augusta and Bernal Park up on the ridge. The city got a $1 million CAL FIRE grant. So we're working on that, and that's the approach we're taking. Is we're basically going through and we're eliminating all that vegetation buildup and we're chipping it in place. So
So-
that is the solution for fuel management.
The Bernal Park has cattle ranching going on there, and that keeps the grass low. But I don't see anything like that on the Bonde Ranch space. I would think if you're talking about spotting, that is a bigger risk. All that area which is tall grass that kind of dries up. And it might burn up and then spot out to some other buildings further out, even to the north of Bernal. So what do you think about that?
So grazing is a solution in some areas. The fuel break that's presented around these homes, is gonna create that spread or break. As far as grazing, there's a lot that goes into that, as far as having water and, gated areas so that they, animals, whether that's sheep or cattle, don't get out on brown and things like that, so, it is a solution in some areas, but our fuel breaks, that we work, in and around the homes is the highest priority. Grass as a whole is a short range spotter, so it typically doesn't spot more than 100 feet. It's more the brush, trees, timber, things like that, or homes that'll spot much further.
There isn't any there. Timber,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There is, so if I go back to some pictures and you kind of look in some of these areas, there is some pretty good buildup that we would try and take care of, where people have either planted back there or, volunteers have gone and grown that back there that we want them.
What does LMD area mean? LMD.
Landscape maintenance district.
That's the.
We had some people waiting at the pages.
So I want to make a comment and also refer to some of your things, talk about, you said the fire break is also actually not only benefit the zone A, but also benefit zone B, right? On the fire break. And then he also, other people talk about like, yeah, how does it special benefit to his lot? So I've been proposing to Matt is to don't have zone A and zone B, just go back to the original, like existing assessment, and then add a CPI increase to it, or consumer price index to it as a whole in your 2018 process. This has been done in other landscaping district in California, such as in San Diego. There's one called Carmel Valley landscaping. They keep the existing. This thing has been ongoing for many landscaping districts. If you go into talk to ChatGPT, or they will tell you. I've been talking to ChatGPT for 2 days before this meeting. You look, because they know all the things about 218 and everything. You can talk to it, and it'll give you an unbiased opinion on it. But so my proposal is to don't have zone A and zone B, to keep the original spirit of eco assessment, eco benefit, and add a CPI index to it. That's my proposal.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Match up with today's cost of living based on the original assessment.
Well, and then you also save money on the assessment, the $30,000. If you go to that process, will cut a lot of the legal fee and assessment fee and engineering work. And think we'll put that money into landscaping and then prioritize the work. Whatever is most urgent this year, we'll do that first. And then next year we'll prioritize. Say, for example, like outside my house, Independent Drive, the easement for the water has been shut down for 5 years. I didn't notice any difference. That goes into the lowest priority to fix it, or no priority at all. I don't mind if it is permanently shut off. It's going to save money on water, save money on trimming and the tree and the bushes. So those go into the lowest priority. Whatever the highest priority, like fence broken down or whatever, fix them first. And then fix whatever gradually, year after year, because we're going to catch up. We missed with under collect for 29 years, the $415,000 we missed. So we're going to catch up on it gradually. That's what I'm seeing. But if going with this existing assessment with an increase, we'll be able to catch up or we'll be able to do whatever we need to do.
I might hear you, but
And another thing
unfortunately,
I want
because
to ask you a
the
question.
process, we can't do that.
I don't,
It has to be based off of the benefit we receive for the property.
it can be done because it doesn't, that is in the record, like Canal Valley. Maintenance district in San Diego has done it.
It might be true for those because they have equal special benefits.
Well,
but that's not the
as
case.
long as the requirement is to the engineering to stay equal benefit for all the parcel. Like what I've just heard about, and then a lot of the California city treat open space and landscaping as general benefit, not as special benefit. Like, for example, those eucalyptus trees along the southern side, those trees are right next to Burnett Court, Burnett Place, Nelson Court, Independent Court.
But these are no longer in the district.
I know, but they don't pay anything, but it's right next to them. See, those are, if you assess them, they are general benefit to those houses, not.
I hear what you're saying, Kim, and we could talk more about this, but does anybody, I see people are leaving, other people have other questions. Go ahead.
I can understand the reason for your request for the increase, because I feel more comfortable if you were able to cap the CPI at like 2% or something.
Okay.
So that there was a fixed rate.
Yeah.
And you had it at a manageable rate, that would probably be easier I think, for people to go with versus having an unlimited open-ended cap.
And so this is the type of feedback that we want. We want to build this to the best thing that most people can agree to. At the end of the day, if we can't get to where we think that we need to make for that recommendation, it just means that we may be back sooner or have to come back through this process. This is not a cheap process, right? And it's also difficult upon the community. As you guys can see, everybody has a little slightly different opinion about what this goes. We're here today to try to get a consensus of what people think. So hearing about the CPI, and that's a strong concern of the community, we will want to put in the ballot language as such of making sure there is a cap. And filling that cap. Is it 3%? Well, if I judge the people in this room, 3% is too much. You said 2%, I saw everybody doing this. Well, if we do a CPI index for 2%, we may be fully falling behind against inflation. And at some point, we'll have to potentially come back and do another Prop 218 vote to readjust. When is that? It could be a long time down the road. It could be 10 years. Part of this too is we have to guesstimate what's happening to your infrastructure, right? How much more life can we get out of the V ditches before we have to do the replacements? So when I say deferred maintenance, right? Well, if we have a really, really bad wet year and we lose a bunch of trees, we get washouts on the V ditch and they get plugged, we still need to do that work. We can't put things in jeopardy. But what does that mean? The next year I'm back here for a Prop 218 vote saying we need to raise money. We need to raise money to do this. So our recommendation of the 81,000 option allows us to start building a buffer, take care of this deferred maintenance, and not have to come back through this very expensive process. We think this is the best long-term economical approach, but you have problems for today. The city has been asking, and the school district, and PG&E, and everybody else to pay a little bit more. And we understand that, right? And so tonight, we're here to find something as a solution. If you go today, all I can afford is the deferred maintenance. But, we're willing to allow that to increase. Great. You know what? That's what we'll put on the ballot if that's what we hear from the community, because we want it to be successful, right? If you guys go, I want more, right? I want this to be a shining star. I want to match all the rest of these other HOA maintained landscapes in this area.
How many the pink houses are more than the blue houses?
We would explore that option, right, and come back for that, but that's not what we've been hearing for. So So again, today we're trying to listen, we're trying to give some options in some areas and hear what your concerns are. To craft something that we think can pass. To make sure that we can do as much as we possibly can with what you as your community, the Bonde Ranch community, can afford to do as a group. You know, it is a group thing.
You mentioned that. So can somebody take an action? This gentleman says other cities have done this with just their CPI without going to Proposition 218.
Go through Proposition 218, but not do reassessment. Same assessment, right now.
Pay the $35,000.
No, you don't have, if you don't have zone A and zone B and unify everybody the same, then it's much cheaper.
Somebody at least.
Much cheaper, the assessment, the engineering orders and the legal fee.
Yeah,
Much cheaper.
So that's why I
You're gonna
said,
save $30,000.
That's another option. So we have these three options, so this is another option that.
the Prop 218 process, right? So there's a lot of specifics on each district. And even we have 5 different districts. And the conversation is actually different for each of these 5 different districts because of the formation documents, the rules, the benefits, and everything that goes with it. There is a very detailed calculations of the benefits and general use benefits that goes into each district that's specific about those improvements and those locations that go with it. If it was simple, Matt and I would take care of it for you, but it's not. And so in the engineer's reports, and you can look at the analysis and prior analysis that has been done to help see how that general benefit and all that analysis is taking place. Those are in the engineering reports. We do it every year. We report it back out to the community every year through the city council actions. It's up on the website. Please take a look at it. Email Matt. Please email Matt. Questions. We'd love to explain that to you. And if we can't answer it, we're gonna be looking out to our consultants to help us do that.
I think you should put in your material, that was a really good point about the deferred maintenance on the B ditches. Like, that's something that maybe we don't see, so when people say they're not seeing any benefit, we need to save that money, because if those ditches go, what do we do? My house gets flooded, like, that's like the stuff that people don't realize we have to save for, right? Just like we do in our own houses. So maybe it's pushing that as well as the fire to help people understand that we have these deferred maintenance costs, not just dead plants, right? The people are like, whatever, I don't care about the plants. Well, they care about the ditches and what that's gonna cause. So maybe there's deeper things we can promote to say what we're paying for.
Any more questions?
I have a question about the water costs, because in the last 10 years, it said $20,000, and I. You said it was turned off 5 years ago, and other people have said it's been not turned off longer ago. And so I'm just wondering where the 20,000 was spent. I don't think it was spent on independence as we're talking, I mean, how long independence or Arlene, and so I'm curious about that, and whether or not that water cost is going to help with the fire danger, and just like if we do need new plants, like it seems like the general consensus is that maybe we don't need new plants, and just how that works in with our fire danger.
On your first Matt? Yeah, I mean, anytime we're watering plants, they're healthier, there's more live to dead ratio. Anytime a plant is stressed and you get that dead component underneath, even if the outside shell looks alive, the fire hazards increase significantly. So if we're able to water plants and keep them, you know, in the living state throughout the fire season or peak fire season, that definitely slows the fire spread down. That's why we advocate all the plants around your home to be watered, you know, so that it takes more heat in the absorption rate is much greater. Where if you have a dead plant or a dead part of the plant, that's just going to ignite right away. So definitely plays into the factors.
So I have another question.
Let me finish. So to answer your question about what is the money being spent on, why do we have that much cost of water? The irrigation system that Barry was talking about that's been turned off for 15 years, that's the city's irrigation system, that's on burnout. You know, behind.
And I'm afraid when my
That's
house
not
was
true.
burned down, the city was not taking care of that.
We live on Littleton. Behind that area and also on the corner, that's been on for 15 years, and that's a whole of you.
So that, I'll say this, that there was no irrigation happening, but the irrigation wasn't turned off. We just weren't irrigating. Everything was still, you know, the meter was still on, the backflow was still on, everything was going. I turned off everything 5 years ago because between 5 and 10 years, we were getting so many leaks in the main line because we still had the backflow open, we still had a meter that was operational. We still could water plants, we just weren't watering plants. So we had so many leaks where we were trying to chase our tails and fix them where we just said, forget it. And even when I turned off the backflow preventer, I was still having leaks between the meter and the backflow. And so I ended up turning everything off at the meter itself. So a lot of those costs that you saw were just lost water costs.
It just seems like that could be an ongoing, even, you know, because it was a new system and it had that issue, right? So it's like, it's just gonna be an ongoing problem. And again, this is right next to my house. I'm not seeing it as, you know, other than if it's gonna be a fire prevention.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know that everybody, it doesn't seem like everybody's super worried about the, you know, the looks of it. It's just more like, I think we're trying to be practical at this point and just like, you know, be water aware and.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not saying let's restore the entire irrigation system. What I'm saying is that what we do is we fix it up enough so we actually have a water source for our landscape guys. Like, let's say we do want to water some trees during the drought. They could put water bags and we could put some quick couplers in, we could, you know, fix up the main line and not have big costs and worry about big, long sections of leaking. We would just put the focus on addressing, you know, kind of fire safety type issues, making sure everything's still healthy when it's stressed out.
So, yeah, I'm concerned about the leaking was problems for my house, you know, like, so.
So Matt, looking at the legend, the LND area, I live in Rosanna. Based on that, it seems that white line, it indicates maybe feet of heat abatement.
I mean, this.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right there. So based on the new proposal, so is that what it indicates? 30 feet of weed cutting, basically? Is that what it indicates right now?
Yeah, so we do 30 feet of weed cutting.
Okay.
And we will do 30 feet of weed cutting,
so
and if laws change, we'll do more.
Right, so my question is, if we go with any of these other proposals that you're proposing, can that be increased to maybe 50 or 100 feet? Because what's happening is the location that my house is, like I mentioned earlier, the insurance company doesn't want to give any more insurance. My insurance, I was paying about like $1,900 or $2,000, let's say, per year. But now nobody wants to insure. They're canceling the policy. Nobody wants to insure. You have to go through the California thing. That's the last resort. And you add those costs together, it's coming up to almost $6,000. The new insurance policy based on the location where I'm living. So that's why I was trying to bring up that point. If we can increase that weed abatement from 30 feet, maybe increase it to 50 or 60, whatever, would that be a possibility?
Well, I might have you talk about the water-wise community for this, better way, because for landscape maintenance district, we're really committed to what's in the district. And so to expand those areas, we'd have to go through a whole nother Prop 218 process. And so it's probably not ever gonna happen. But
you are already going through Prop 218, why can't you include in that?
If you're concerned about your insurance, I spoke briefly, but the Firewise community, if homeowners want to band together and look into it, you can just simply Google it, just and just get a quick overview. It's a 3-year commitment, self-assessment. It can have up to 2,500 homes. And it's a national program that of all the things to be recognized by insurance companies, it's one of the ones that has shown a reduction. I can't say that your company that insures you is one of the ones that will do that, but by participating in this program, it's a commitment, it's assessment of the homes. There's a whole process. The fire department will get involved as well, and will support you, and the city will support you. But it starts with either an HOA, a group of homes, the community. It can be as few as 8. And there's a lot of information on the website. And if you wanted to, look at that as a potential solution to help, potentially reduce some of those costs, I'd be a resource, or fire prevention would be a resource, and we can look at that as well.
Why do they weed whack that instead of using a mower? In most places are rototill with a rototill or mower for fire breaks. Why are you spending manual labor to weed whack 20 feet behind all those mountains?
So oftentimes it's due to the slope and just the ability to get the equipment back there. And then by weed whacking also, most machinery is using metal blades, and if that strikes a rock, it's going to cause a fire.
Do you see that everywhere?
Where weed whacking,
Every back road, it's all rototilled and cut the fire breaks. They're all done.
again, I'm just going to go back to, it's a very, steep areas in some of these behind, in certain areas, and so just equipment has its limitations. So
they people come once a year to come and do, they cut the weeds. I mean, the guy comes once a year and he cuts the weed and he messes up the whole backyard with all kind of debris. And then even in the hot summers when he's weeding, it's like a fire hazard.
But yeah, so I mean, I understand, but we have to competitively bid our project. So we put out to bid publicly the weed abatement project. And so we leave it, and what we prescribe is we need this end result. It's up to the contractor to decide what the best way and most effective and efficient way is. So these guys are doing the weed whacking probably because of the reasons Matt's talking about, but also getting that equipment back out there. Sometimes you need a special equipment.
People are walking up and down, they can basically walk up. If you, what is
Driving. They're talking about driving.
I know,
Yeah,
but no, I know what they're talking about, driving equipment, but in my house, they can walk up because it's pretty, 2 to 1.
But it's up to them to decide what's going to be most efficient, and we always pick the low bidder. That's what we're required to do, and we do that for the district because we want to get the best deal.
So my original question is, you cannot add an additional 20-30 feet because you're doing to 18 proposition.
You might be able to do that as part of the Firewise and work with the city, but it's the city that owns this property. It's not part of the landscape district, so that's why. But you had a question.
I was just I think I'm the only one here from Zone B. So my benefit is to do the zoning B, last, but I get, because mine is Vernal in the city and they haven't done anything. So I'm the only fire I've ever saw was the one that came down Vernal, and it was the city. Not, I understand where you got it. It's more of a benefit to you. I'm just, what is it for me? For them to pay more.
Well,
The zone B is the only thing that helps me. I get it. So, I get the breaks or that's good. I think I'm the only one here. Everybody else is in the zone A, right?
No.
Yeah, we're zone A.
So I'll just go back to saying, in the unfortunate circumstance that the winds are blowing, we saw that fire hazard severity zone map that had this as moderate. If any one of these homes catches fire and the home itself starts spotting, then that would be the risk that you're,
Grass fires.
But the zoning is.
Not as dangerous as wood, but
yeah, I mean, grass fires are gonna burn fast, the spotting is limited. But once we get the homes on fire, that's when you're gonna see the spread across Burnham.
And my last question was the balance, so how are you just sending them out, instead of just sending them to people's community address, because
No.
people rent,
So we,
How about the survey or the ballot?
the ballot.
how are they?
The
getting to
questionnaire that
every
you asked in there.
So the questionnaire is a survey, and so we have a QR code here, so,
That not everybody is gonna get addressed.
so for the survey, anyone.
I'm talking for the ballot.
So I wanna make sure there's no confusion because he asked about the survey. But for the ballot, we use the county assessor data, which provides us with the property owner, the parcel number, and the mailing address that they have on file.
I thought you said we use the bill.
No,
No,
that
no,
was,
that's just for like me telling people this meeting is happening tonight or a survey
Okay,
or that.
gotcha, okay. That was
and
it.
so we'll go more into depth about the, we'll have an example of the ballot and the.
That's fine, I just thought it was you.
No, we'll-
Answered my question.
But at the meeting in April, we'll have all of that information.
Do you have any more of those flyers we sent out of the?
Presentation.
I can email it to you.
I didn't have it explained.
I have a question.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I think he wants the presentation. He wants the slides.
Yeah, so we emailed to you. It's also downloaded on, downloadable on the website. This presentation will be posted up there as well as the first, community presentation is on the website. And so it's just a slide deck. Is posted on the website. So you can, the QR code, it's on the, right now, if, we go to the QR code. They'll pull you right up to the website. And the presentation will be there, so is the link story.
Our neighborhood.
Yeah, and if you, I should have said this when all the people were here, but if you could talk to your neighbors and make sure they understand what's going on, that'd be great.
We have a web chat of our neighborhood.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Our area.
A lot of them are not, well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you for your input. I really
Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Sam, thank you. I know you do. I'm gonna turn off my recording here, but you could talk to me.
So
How much is this?
what's the next thing? What do we do?
So we're gonna have this survey that people will be able to take.
Oh, so this thing, it's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important for you and your neighbors to take that survey. Yeah.
This is survey? Okay.
Yeah, you can flash that up on your camera on your phone for the QR code, pull up. And go ahead and take that survey. We really do want to get
Okay.
and understand what everyone wants.
So we wanna, so we wanna see exactly the numbers, right? For zone A, based on the proposal that you are
Right on the
proposing.
slide.
So which
It's on the
slide?
slide. We flashed it up, Matt.
So what we are paying now versus what